Hi, this is David at Highland Camper Fans and welcome to this handover video of the WildAx Pulsar. So we're going to take you around the van, get you to grips with the features and operation of the vehicle, get you all set ready for your first adventure. I would recommend that you maybe bookmark this video for later use or maybe download the device when you're out of the field just as a handy reference just in case you get stuck. But don't forget, we here at Highland Camper Fans are happy to help at any time. So if you're out and about and you need a little bit of help, pick up the phone, give us a shout, we're here to help. So without further ado, let's get on with the video and I hope you find it useful. So located down the driver's side of the vehicle, you're going to find this flap just here, and this is the electric hookup control, and you need to take your hookup cable. There's one supplied with the van. So when you're ready to plug in, you just open the flap, slide it in until you hear it click into place, like so, and that's you then hooked up. Now, top trick with this is that you want to make sure you're not traveling with a live cable. So when you arrive on site, you want to hook up the van, then take your cable and then go and plug it into your energy source. Then when you're at the energy sources, do check the trip board, make sure that's working correctly. If you're satisfied, turn everything on and that's the van all hooked up. When you've got the van on hookup, there is a little indicator on the habit control panel, which we'll cover later, which will show you that you're on your hookup. When you want to unplug the van, it's a case of reverse the process. Unplug the energy source first and then remove the cable from the van with a wee tug, and that's you there. When you've got your cable plugged in, it's tempting to obviously leave your cable all furled up. Don't do that. Make sure the cable is completely unwound. The cable will get hot if it's all stored in a bundle, as it were, and it's just for line safety. While you're winding your cable up, it's a good chance to obviously check the cable's condition, make sure there's no nicks or tears to the cable, and obviously from time to time inspect the actual ends of the units, make sure the plugs are okay, there's no signs of corrosion or cracking on the cases. If you see anything at all, it's a good time then to replace the cable with a new one. When you're traveling, make sure the flap is fully shut. That click there lets you know the flap is closed. What you don't want is when you're driving down the road is the flap to start doing this. So make sure, hear the click, everything's all shut, and that's the electric hookup. Next, we're going to have a look at the freshwater fill. Now, this is located on the driver's side, just in front of the rear wheel. You will need your habitation key for this. So when you open the flap, you'll need your habitation key to unlock the flap. Once you've done that, it's just a case of twist to open to remove the flap itself. Then once you're done, insert your freshwater hose. I would recommend that you use a blue food safe hose rather than just a regular garden hose. And it's also recommended that you maybe travel with your own hose and adapter just for food safety, things like that. Once you're done filling, there is an indicator on the habit control panel which will let you know how much water's on board, or by all means you can keep on going until the water flows out and let you know the tank is full. Once you're done, take your hose out, take your cap, put the cap back on, lock it into place. Don't forget to lock the flap before you travel, and then shut this down, make sure it's secure, and that is your freshwater fill. So located along the sill on the driver's side, about halfway between the two wheels, you're going to see this blue tap just down here. Now this blue tap here is the fresh water drain tap. So when you're ready to drain the tank, be it for cleaning or for winterization, you need to open this tap. So turn the tap, fresh water will drain out as you can see, and you just keep going until the tank is fully drained out. Now for winterization, you'll want to leave this tap open, just to allow any moisture to escape from the tank itself. And then when it comes to refilling again, don't forget to shut this tap, otherwise the water is just going to flow through. And that is your fresh water. Now this van has a refillable LPG bottle fitted by Gaslow. So when it comes to refilling the gas, you'll need to go to anywhere that does refillable gas bottles for heating or for an auto gas centre like an LPG petrol station. There are various different websites and apps that can help you find these locations. When you are ready to fill, you just open this flap like so, take the flap out, and then you connect the bayonet connector to this system just here and locks on. Now some stations will do this for you, others you'll have to connect it yourself. If you're not sure for the first time, definitely ask for assistance or maybe a demonstration just to show you how this operates. If you're traveling abroad in Europe, you may need to have a little screw and adapter just to allow the proper fitting connector. You can get these through various different gas suppliers, or again if you are abroad, quite often the agents that do have the adapters available. Once you're all filled, then it's just a case of put the cap back on, turn and lock it, and that's you ready to go. Hiding just under the rear bumper on the driver's side, you're going to find this little grey tap. Now this grey tap is connected to the waste tank of your van. So when it comes to draining out your waste tank, maybe you're ready for travel from your campsite, it's always a good idea to make sure you drain your wastewater out so you're not driving with a full tank. Drive onto your service point and it's a case of just opening the tap like so to drain out your wastewater. Once the wastewater is fully drained, you want to close the tap off back for travel, or if you're winterizing your vehicle, leave the flap open and that will allow any water that's still caught in to flush out. It's not a bad idea to maybe take the van for a quick 5 to 10 minute drive just to get the last little bit of water sloshed out of your waste tank ready for winterization. And that is the waste tap. Located on the rear door, you are going to find your spare wheel. Now the spare wheel is hidden underneath this plastic cover, and to remove the cover it's just a case of just pull the elastic straps around and physically remove the cover from the wheel. Now the wheel is mounted with 3 bolts to hold the wheel onto the door. Your toolkit located under the passenger seat will let you take this wheel off. Now as a recommendation, we would suggest that you maybe purchase a locking key set just to provide a little extra security for this wheel. Just avoid anybody taking off your van without your consent. And once you're all sorted, you can remount the punctured wheel or the spare back onto the same bracket, cover it back over with the cover, it just pulls back over the top, and that is the spare wheel. On the rear quarter on the passenger side, you're going to see this little device here. Now this is just the exhaust vent for your Truma boiler, so it's nothing to worry about, but it does serve as a handy reminder of where the boiler is located. So if you're not too sure for winterization and you're trying to find the boiler, look for the vents on the outside, and the boiler is directly on the other side of here, so easy to find the boiler when you need to. Now when the boiler is operating on maybe a slightly colder day, it's not uncommon to see a little bit of steam vapor rise from this vent. That is perfectly normal, nothing to panic about, as it were. Likewise, when the boiler's been switched off, it's not uncommon to hear the boiler make some little extra noises afterwards as it's cooling down, or you might see a little bit more vapor coming from the vent again. Perfectly normal behavior, and that is your vent for the Truma boiler. So just on the entrance to your vehicle, you're going to find your electric step just here. Now to access the electric step, you use this switch just here, and the electric step will slide out and slide in as needed. Now if you've been on a campsite and it's a little bit dirty or a little bit dusty with sand and muck is on your step, good tip is to brush it off before sliding the step back in. Dirt can get trapped on these rails and it can reduce the effectiveness of the electric step, so definitely carry a little brush before you put it away. Just give the step a little bit of a sweep. And that is the electric step. Located on the pillar between the 2 passenger doors, you're going to find this flap. Behind the fill flap is the filler cap and the AdBlue cap. So to take the filler cap off, you need to use the ignition key, turn to unlock, and then this here will hang on the little cap holder just here, and then you can provide your fill. For AdBlue, this is this device just here. Now the van will warn you when the AdBlue level is low. When you get your first warning, that's normally when you want to put your little top up, pick up about a litre of top up, throw it in here, and that will normally sort the system out. Located just on the side of the pillar, you are going to see your tyre sizes and tyre pressures. Really handy in case you're out and about and you need to know what air to put into the tyre. Located on the end of the dashboard, you are going to find the bonnet release just here. You will need to have the door open before you can see that. And then when the bonnet's open, the safety latch is just in the middle. Then under the bonnet, you're going to find your screen wash fill, your coolant tank, brake reservoir, and then in the event of an emergency jump start, you have your negative terminal point just here, and your positive terminal point is under this flap just here. If you do need to boost the van, don't use the battery physically under the floor on the front. Use these connection points just here. And that is your fuel flap and under the bonnet. As you come inside the vehicle, up on the left, you're going to see this control panel here. And this is your habitation control panel. So this controls the electrics, the water pump, etc. for the van. So to turn everything on, it's the power button just here. Hold it down, and after a quick moment, everything will light up on the dashboard here. So you have temperature, temperature, time, freshwater tank, and battery levels just here. If you're on an electrical hookup, you'll see a little symbol on here as well indicating you're on hookup. So to turn the 12 volts on, the lighting circuit, etc., button at the top turns everything on. This here will turn on the water pump. And then if there's an all-in light is here, this is the dimmer switch. And then this here lets you see your tank levels. So at the minute we've got 50% fresh water. And then this one here will see our battery levels. So it lets us see what is going on just here and our energy draw as well. And to power everything down, it's just a case of press the button here to turn everything off. And that is the habitation system. So as you come into the vehicle, just above you, you're going to find this little device just hiding here. This is the solar controller panel for the lithium battery in the solar system. So what it is doing is just give you an indication of the battery status. And at the moment it's showing that we have 13.2 volts, and that will receive a charge through the solar system just now. If this is a positive number, you're receiving solar. If it's a negative number, there's draw and usage on the battery itself, as it were. Other than that, there's not much more you need to do with this control panel. Next, we're going to have a look at the kitchen sink. So to get out the sink, we just need to lift the cover, turn the tap round like so. And when we're ready to turn it on, we just use the faucet control, and that is the water. Now, if you've got the boiler on, you just turn this like so to access the hot water. And then once you're done, just shut it off just like so. Now, sometimes you'll hear the water pump action as it's sort of pressurizing the system again, quite common behavior. If you want to put the cover down, don't forget to move the tap out of the way, shut the cover back down, and that is the kitchen sink. Now onwards to your 3-ring hob. So obviously lift the cover before you start cooking. Make sure your gas supply is switched on, and then when you're ready to ignite the rings, you have 3 control knobs for the various different rings. They are indicating which one's which. This one, this one, this one here, and this one on the bottom corner. So to turn the ring on, push and hold the button in, turn, you'll hear the gas, press the sparker, ignite the gas, hold this in for a couple more seconds to allow the thermocouple to warm up, and then release. And then you can use this here to control the gas flow like so. Once you're done, switch it to the 12 o'clock position. The gas flow will cut off. I always recommend having a quick listen, make sure the gas has switched off. Yep, there's no hissing noise, so the gas is completely switched off. Now, if you have been cooking, now it's important to note that you don't close this cover straight down. If you've been cooking with the rings, you need to let the rings go cold. Give it about 10 minutes or so, allow this to cool down, and then you can close the transport cover like so. If you put the cover down while it's too hot, there's a chance that you could shatter this glass. So top safety, make sure this is nice and cool. Now, the grilling here does remove for help for cleaning. They are located with these little grommets on each corner. Now, just a point of note is just be careful when removing the grill. It's very easy to pull the grommets out or maybe break them, as it were. So just be nice and ginger when you pull this out, cleaning your surface, and once you're done, just push everything all back down again. And that way it covers the hob unit. Now, your oven works very much like the hob. You have the button just here, which allows you to select either the oven or the grill. And it's a case exactly like what turning the rings on. You turn this to whichever side you need, holding the button in, and then you ignite the thermocoupling with the sparker just here. Now, the thermocoupling for the grill is at the top part, and the thermocoupling for the oven is at the bottom at the back, as it were. Again, when you first ignite it, hold the button in for a few more moments just to let the thermocouplings warm up, and then you can release the button. Once you're done with your cooking, or the grill or the oven, don't forget to return this to the 12 o'clock position to stop the gas flow coming through to the oven itself. I would always recommend just having a quick listen, make sure the gas has stopped flowing, and then don't forget, don't pull this full shut straight away. You want to let the oven cool down for a few minutes before closing this here. Once you've done, then that is you all sorted, ready to go. So located at the back corner of the van, we're going to find the gas isolation valves and the gas locker. So gas locker first. Now inside we have our gas slow refillable bottle, and to turn the gas on, it's the yellow regulator just here. There is a little indicator just hiding on the top to give you an indication of what the gas level is like. I will say use that as a pinch of salt. Sometimes it can be a little inaccurate, as it were, but yes, when you're traveling, I recommend that you close this valve off, and then when you arrive on site, to turn the valve on. Now, to couple with that, you have a couple of isolation taps located in the side cupboard just here. So just turn the caps like so, and that will isolate the gas supply to the actual fan itself. Again, recommended for travel that you turn this off along with the bottle, and when you arrive where you need to be, quickly switch them on, and that will allow you to use the gas inside the vehicle. So at the very back of your van, you're going to find this access door here. And behind this access door is your domestic chemical toilet. Now, to take this out for emptying, we need to pull the little green flap at the bottom and then release the toilet cassette like so. Now when we're ready to empty it, there is a set of wheels and you can extend the handle for travel purposes. When you're ready to empty it, you need to turn the funnel, take the cap off, and then when you arrive, you tip, press the release button and empty the unit out. Then you need to put some fresh water in, rinse it up, rinse it around, give it a good shake, empty it out, do that at least twice to make sure everything's all fine. And then you will need to put a little bit of water in, filter about here, add your chosen chemical. We strongly recommend the use of pink or green. A lot of campsites now won't accept blue chemical. You can put your liquid straight in, or if you want to, more popular is the pods, and you can drop the pod in so. Make sure you screw the cap back on firmly, close the funnel back round, and then to put the cassette back in, it's wheels first, roll the device in until it clicks. That's it, secure. I'd always recommend just giving it a little tug, make sure it has secured in nice and home, and once you're done, you shut the door. Now, if you are struggling to remove the toilet cassette, check the toilet and make sure that the interior flap is closed. If the flap is open, it will stop the toilet cassette from being removed from the back of the van. So if you are having a struggle to get this out, just check the toilet, make sure that is properly closed. And that covers our chemical toilet. Moving on into the bathroom. So at the sink, you're going to find the tap, which also doubles up as the shower head. So when it's like this and the water pump is on, you can access the tap for water. If you want to use it as a shower, you just pull the head out and then mount that onto the shower hook just up here. And then once you're done, you just feed the hose back in, secure the tap like so, and that then is the tap back into its regular position. Located to the other side of the bathroom, you are going to find your domestic toilet. So to use the toilet, open the lid like so, and then pull open the waste flap like that, and then you can make use of the toilet. Once you've done, don't forget to obviously flush the toilet. Now the toilet flush needs to be on the 12-volt circuit. Press the button here. That will activate the toilet flush. And then once you're all finished, close the flap just to avoid any smells coming back up from your chemical toilet, and then close the toilet seat back down. Now on the control panel just here, you will see indications to let you know if the toilet cassette is not seated properly, or if the cassette is getting half full or it is full. Now we're going to take a look at the trimmer heating system for your WildAx. So first things first, you obviously need to make sure that the habitation panels on the 12-volt circuit is operating, and then once you're ready, you turn the heating system on here. Screen will turn on. It may take a moment just to boot up. And then you'll be presented with this control screen just here. So the control screen is very straightforward. It gives us time and date. It lets us know it's Bluetooth ready, and there'll also be another little symbol on the side here to let you know if you're an electrical hookup. So to access the room heater, that's room climate, we're going like so. The van's going to ask if we want to heat or ventilate. So the first time around, we're going to go with heating. So the van will give us two displays here. So the top one is our temperature, which we use the plus or minus to set like so. And then just below it, it's let us know what the current inside temperature of the van actually is. So we then need to pick our energy source. So we can either be off-grid with the diesel heater, or if we are on electric hookup, I'd recommend that you select the electricity mode. So electric 1 is 900 and electric 2 is 1800. Return to the screen previous is the back arrow. We can see on here that this is the heating system is now on. We can see the screen is pulsing to let us know it's activated. And there's also a little flame symbol in the corner here to let us know it is on. This button here is to let us know how the heating system is operating. So in fast mode, the van will get the heaters blowing as quickly as possible to get the van heated as fast as it can. If we wanted to do it a little bit softer, we select comfort mode. It may take a little bit longer, but there won't be so much noise from the fan system. When we return to the home screen, we're going to notice that there's a green bar. We can see the heating symbol, and it lets us know that the van is heating to 28 degrees. Now, if we're finished with the heating system, we go into the mode, and then we press the off button in the very corner like so. That will now turn the system off. So the ventilator is very much the same idea. You go into the ventilation mode. You need to tell the van what level of ventilation we're operating at. You'll notice that the ventilation symbol is now on. If we go back to the main screen, we can now see the ventilation system on just there as well. Now to turn the ventilator off, it's very straightforward. Just put the ventilator in at 0. Hit this button here and then turn the system off, and that will clear the ventilator for you. Hot water, very much like the room heater. So we need to turn the water heater on. And then we have a couple of modes here. So hot water is for shower. You then got comfort mode, which is great for dishes. and then you've got eco mode as well. So you can also pick the energy source, again, diesel or electric. And then when the hot water is operating, you'll see the little flame symbol. And again, if we check the home screen, we can see the bars on eco mode for the hot water side of things. To turn the hot water off, let's go in, turn the hot water off like so, and that's the hot water system off just there. Now you can control your Truma system with a Bluetooth app, which is the iNetX app. And if you have that app on the mobile, you can then connect your smartphone following the on-screen instructions just here. Other buttons you've got timers to turn the heater system on and off. You have your notifications if you miss a warning message. And then across the screen, you have a settings menu, which lets you go in and change various different parts of the screen side of itself. And then finally, you have the switch off button just here. Now, this is really important when it comes to the Truma heating system. You should always turn the Truma control panel off before you turn off the habitation system. This just avoids any odd error from time to time where the Truma system loses communication with the hab panel. So when you're parked up and you leave the van unattended and you don't need anything running, you turn this off first. So turn it off if you're switching the whole system off. Standby is just an energy saving mode. So if you are still using the control panel and you don't want the screen to be on, you can quickly pop into the standby just to save energy. But in this case, we're going to turn the screen off. And then you'll see it's turned it off. And after a few minutes, the screen goes black. When the screen is black, you can then safely turn off the control panel for the habitation side. And that covers our Truma heating system. So next we're going to have a look at the beds in your WildAx Pulsar. So I'm going to first of all show you how you put the beds into double. Now I've already put this side down, but it's the same on both sides of the seats. So just at the front, there's a black lever which you need to pull up, and then you just slide the seat down. Push the cushions in, and that is you there. Now, you will need to get the support brace, and that latches on the front like so, and on the opposite side like so, and that is your brace. Now in position, you will need the infill cushion. Now there are 3 in the van. You need the one that's got the hard back. You lay the cushion down on the poles and on the support, and that is the double bed. So let's show you what you need to do if you want it as 2 singles. So now that's the double bed all sorted out and put away, I'm now going to show you how to turn it as 2 singles. Now I have done a bit of prep work first. I've rotated the 2 front seats. You need to do that first, and then once you're ready, you drop the 2 side singles down like you would do if you're about to make the double bed. But in this case, we're not. We're going to make those 2 singles. Located in one of the wardrobe covers, you're going to find 2 infill cushions, which also act as rear cushions for sofa mode. So we take our cushions, we lay them down on top of the current bed format, like so, and then one on the other side. And then that will give you your 2 single beds. So putting all the beds away, now I've already gone ahead and rotated the 2 fronts and already put this single side away. But to put these beds back into seats, it's a very straightforward process. What you do is you lift the cushion up, grabbing the board, and then support the rear and just push the whole seat forward until it clicks back into place. And that is the beds and the bed put away. So now we're going to look at the boiler drain valve ready for winterization. So first of all, you need to push this single seat all the way forward on the passenger side. This allows us access to this cavity space. Now hiding down in the corner, you are going to see this little yellow valve. That is the drain valve for the boiler system. When it is lying horizontal like so, the valve is closed and no water can drain out of the van. To drain the van, flip the valve up, you'll hear water drain, and the water will drain like so, just underneath the van. And once we're ready to, and we're all finished, we shut the valve back off again. Now, if we are winterizing the van, we're going to leave this valve open to allow all the water to drain out of the system and to allow moisture to come out. When you're restarting the van back for the new season, A common thing that does happen is people are filling water back in their van. They've done the fresh tap, but they quite often forget to do the boiler valve and wonder why no water's coming in or if there's water pouring out. If you're seeing water pouring out just under this side of the van, you'll know that this hasn't been shut properly. And that covers the boiler, drain valve, and your winterization of the boiler system. Located under the rear travel seat on the driver's side, you are going to find your leisure battery, your control interfaces for the distribution panel and fuses. So this can be accessed by just pulling the seat forward. There's a lever at the front which lets you to do that. So inside the cavity, you are going to see the leisure battery located just here. Now, important note on battery maintenance is that when the van's being laid up, it's very important to check the battery's condition every couple of weeks or so. Now, you can do that by using the HAB control panel. There's a bit of information that covered on that portion of the video. So located to the side, we have our fuses just hiding here. And then we have our trip switches on this side here. There is a test button just here so you can test the trip function of these fuses. Now, when you're on electrical hookup, it's really important to test the breaker circuit for your power source. You don't want to have your van to be the last line of defense inside the vehicle, so definitely make sure you check that. And that covers the distribution board and fuses and leisure battery. Now we're going to move on to your Thetford fridge. So your fridge on board is a 12-volt compressor fridge, so it works through the leisure system when the vehicle's running or when you're on electrical hookup. So to turn the fridge on, we're going to press the power button until the fridge lights up, like so. Now, if there is a fault with the fridge, you will get this panel here flash, and depending on how many bars this flash, it will give you a report on the fault of the fridge, and you can find details of that located in the owner's manual for the fridge. So to make adjustments to the fridge, we need to put the panel on. So we touch the screen, and then to make adjustment, we hold down until it flashes, like so. Now we can make our adjustments, so we can just slide our finger up and down to how we want the fridge to be. I would recommend operating the fridge at level 3 to start with. See how you get on, see if you find that the things are cold enough for you. If not, you can then go up or down. Bear in mind, the higher level you have the fridge, the more energy the fridge is going to use. At night time, you can put the fridge into a low compression mode, so the fridge more acts like a cool box. Now, if you've got the fridge in this mode, it isn't really important that you don't keep opening the door. When it's in night mode, the fridge will still monitor inside and may fire up just to cool the fridge down. But most importantly, it makes the fridge nice and quiet. So to put it in the fridge into night mode, we tap the screen to bring it to light, hold the screen down till it flashes to allow us to make our adjustments. There we go. Tap the moon symbol, and that is now the fridge in night mode. And that there covers your fridge. So when we're parked up for the night, obviously we want to make the van private so people can't peer in. So you have, obviously on the rear windows, you have window blinds and fly screens, but at the front you have the Remis cap blinds. Now to action those, we need to squeeze just here to release the blind of its housing, and then we just gently pull the blind across until it meets the other side of the window and it magnetically locks in. The center, so the main window is exactly the same idea. You pull the blind out and then the magnet strip here meets the other blind, and that secures everything up for you. Now, when you're done for the night and you're ready to drive off in the morning, don't forget you need to retract the blind. So to do so, it's exactly the same again. Squeeze and then gently move the blind back over into its houses. Don't force the blind, just take it nice and ginger. And once you're ready, secure it, make sure it clicks. That's it, clicked into place. Really important you make sure that the blind is housed in properly. If it's not located properly, you can imagine that you go around a roundabout and the blind will fall out, obscuring your view. So make sure before you drive that the blinds are secured. Push them in, just give them a little push to see if they are locked into place, just to make sure the blinds aren't coming out. And that covers your Remis privacy blinds. So moving on to the primary driver controls of your WildAx Pulsar. So on the dashboard, going from left to right, we have the rev counter. We have the little circle for the gearbox indicator, which says P for park. Then we have the speedometer with the digital speed in the middle. We have computer data just located on the center there. And then finally, we've got the fuel gauge showing the fuel levels with the warning lights of seatbelt and handbrake. On the stalks, on the left stalk, you've got the light control. Turn on to turn the lights like so. Indicators are up and down for various different directions. Your beam is away from you to turn the beam on, back towards you to turn the beam off, and when the headlights are off, a flick towards you will activate the flasher for the beam. On the opposite side, you have the controls for the wipers. So the control interface is just here. We rotate the stalk for low intermittent to high intermittent, then low speed and high speed wiper patterns. To activate the washer, we pull the stalk towards us to activate the washer program. And if we need a single swipe, then we just basically flick the stalk up to give us a single swipe of the wipers. Moving on to the steering wheel itself. So button controls just here allow us to change various different displays on the dashboard itself. We just press the button to pick what mode that we're looking for, and then up and down or OK to select various different bits to go in and make read changes on board. You then have Bluetooth controls located just here. Then on the opposite side, we have the cruise control system and the speed limiter. So to turn the cruise control system on, you first of all need to be driving at speed around 45 miles an hour or higher. Then activate the cruise control with the button here. You'll see it symbol to let you know the cruise control is ready. And then when you are ready to activate the cruise control, you press the set button to turn the cruise control on. When you need to pause the cruise control, you can press the rest button just here. That will pause the cruise control, and then press it again to resume it. If you wish to turn the cruise control off, you can press the cancel button, or by all means turn the whole system off by pressing the cruise control button just here. The limiter, this one here, LIM, will set a top speed for the van. We set that with these control buttons here. So holding down the plus button, we can increase the limiter like so. And then once we got the speed we want to set, we just leave it like so. And then once we travel and the vehicle reaches that speed, the vehicle will be electronically inhibited from going any faster. Now do bear in mind that the limiter system does not put the brakes on. So if you're going down a steep hill, the vehicle will coast over that speed. To turn the limiter off, you either press the limiter button off here, or you press the throttle pedal down to its floor and then push hard again for the kill switch, and that will turn off the limiter as well. Moving across to the primary dashboard, so you've got your wee touchscreen controls here. So just briefly, we have the home control just here. This gives us our main home screen, and we can change these about. We have our audio system, so we can pick our audio sources on for digital radio, or if we are accessing mobile devices, we can get media through there. This gives us an overview of the air conditioning system as well, so it lets the climate systems off. The air conditioning is controlled with these buttons just here, like so. Automatic mode, ventilator mode, AC on and off, and fan speed, and that's all replicated on here. So again, I can actually use these controls to change quickly what I want on the air conditioning if I didn't want to use the button controls as well. To turn the AC off, we just press the off button, and that turns the whole system off. We have a navigation control just here. Smartphone access, so we can connect a phone, pair a mobile, and then we got the vehicle settings. So let's just go in and change bits and bobs about the vehicle under the settings menu. Just here we can change wee bits and pieces, and then finally we've got our apps menu where we can access different little bits of apps, etc. on there. Lower down we have the volume control for the radio and the mute button. We have a rear window dismissive which doesn't work on this van because it doesn't have the original windows fitted. Central locking button just here. Then a traction mode for the vehicle. If I press the button, you'll see the traction is now on. So that is an additional traction control for when the vehicle is in rough ground or wet grass. And then we have our hill descent mode just here. Finally, if the airbag is switched off on the passenger side, this will be lit here to let you know the airbag is off. Moving on to the gearbox control. So to remove the gearbox out of park, we need to pull the release trigger like so. For the brake, release trigger, and then we can move the gearbox down to the various different programs. On here you have a drive mode selector. So the drive mode selector lets us pick the energy mode that the vehicle is in, be it eco, normal mode, or power mode. Now I recommend just experimenting with these to sort of get a flavor of how they feel. In eco mode, the engine is restricted for throttle performance. That's ideal for motorway. Normal mode is regular cruising, and power mode is if you need the vehicle to provide lots of power when you need it. So for example, if you're moving up and down steep hills, etc. When the vehicle is in reverse, you'll notice that the rear view camera engages. You've got a little bit of guidelines here and a center line for the vehicle as well to help guide you in. And then once you're parked up, put the vehicle into park mode, and then the handbrake is located just over here. Now when the vehicle is in drive, the handbrake will disengage, but when you park up, you do need to turn the handbrake on by just actioning the button. On the door card, we have the mirror controls. So we use the little joystick to rotate to the mirror that we want to adjust, and then we use the joystick to physically move that mirror about. We have a button here to electronically fold the mirrors in or out. Great for parking if it's a little bit tight. And then finally we have the window switches for the driver's and passenger's side. And last but not least, a central locker button for the rear section of the vehicle. So if we're driving along and we need access to the back, without having to use the key, we can use this button just here to access the rear doors. And that covers the primary driver controls of your WildAx Pulsar. So that was a handover video for the WildAx Pulsar. Hopefully you found it useful. As I said at the very start, don't forget to bookmark this video, maybe save it to your device for later on, so when you're out and about. All that's left for me to say is have many happy miles motoring in your new motorhome, and we hopefully see you again soon here at Highland Campervans. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.